Hi, I'm Elizabeth from Art Studio Life, and today I'm going to be talking to you about something specific, and that's washing brushes. So now, washing paintbrushes is probably one of my least favorite things to do in painting. No matter how much you love something, I feel like there's always something that is your least favorite thing or something that you really don't like to do. And washing paintbrushes is mine. However, just over the years after researching and just learning just really good methods for washing your brushes, I've kind of developed just a really good system for cleaning my brushes, and I really don't mind it very much at all now. One of the reasons being that I feel like the techniques and methods that I use really do help to make my brushes last longer and also keep them in better condition so that it does kind of influence and help you to paint better in a way because your brush shape is better preserved. So I'm going to be going over just exactly what I do in regards to washing brushes. So here's all the supplies that I use for cleaning brushes. So it's fairly simple. I use Murphy's oil soap. I absolutely love this stuff. It's not very expensive and it works really well. So it cleans your brushes and also it actually conditions them as well at the same time. It's just wonderful. I've been using it for years and you don't need to use a whole lot, but I do happen to be running a little bit lower on mine right now, so I should be getting some more soon. And then baby oil. And you don't need to get the best, most expensive baby oil because it's not going to be used on humans. It's going to be used just for your brushes. And then just a bar of olive oil soap is the best to use. So these are the items. And then some kind of a container to use for washing your brushes. So I pour my soap into this container. Then once you're ready to clean your brushes, you just pour in some of the Murphy's oil soap into your container, and depending on how many brushes you have to clean, usually, of course, I have a lot more than just this one to clean that I clean all at once, but you'll need more or less. So if you have a bunch, you'll put in more soap. If you just have a little bit, you won't put in as much. And I probably don't even need this much. So you really don't need to use very much. You can be quite conservative with that. But before I actually dip my brush into the soap, I first wipe it off with just a paper towel or some sort of rag that you might have on hand. Just kind of wipe that off. I used this very kind of bright color so that you could really see just the cleaning process of it and how clean it is afterward. All right, so there we go. So that's probably pretty good. And now the soap in here and my brush, I'm just gonna kind of move it around in the soap. I'm not going to be too rough. You don't have to be too gentle either. Just kind of move that around, kind of get the soap into the brush. And you can, at a certain point, kind of wipe it up against this as well. You can see all that coming out. And this is really meant for getting oils out. So that's one reason why this is just very effective and useful for working with brushes here. Specifically oil painting brushes, I should point that out. Okay, it's actually getting a little slippery for me to hold. Now, once you kind of reach this point, you can see it still looks a little pinky, and that's totally fine. That's quite normal, but I think we're done with this step. And then usually I wash my brushes in a area where there's a sink. However, for the purpose of this video here, because it was kind of much easier to show you just on this table and this setup here, I just got this glass that's filled with water, and I'm going to use that instead of kind of running tap water. But before I dip it in, I'm just going to wipe it again. Here, you can see a little bit has come off of my brush. Now I'm gonna just kind of put in that water, kind of, basically you're rinsing it. That's pretty much what you're doing. Kind of like as if you were washing your hair, then you're rinsing the shampoo out of your hair. and conditioner. All right, so there we go. Before we get to the baby oil though, I'm just dipping my brush in again in that water. We're first going to deal with the soap. So again, the best soap to use is actually olive oil soap. That's what I always use. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to find mine in time here, so I'm using another bar of soap just as a substitute, but just know olive oil soap is the best to use with your brushes for this. So now, one thing that can be difficult just with brushes and keeping them just in their good shape and format is after washing them is sometimes, they can splay and split and just kind of get deformed and just go in all different directions. And that's something you want to avoid. And of course you can't see that in this brush because it's still fairly new and it's in good shape. But to keep it in that good shape, and also if you do have brushes that are kind of looking a little aged and are kind of going different directions, you can do this to help bring them back to their just specific actual shape. So the way to do that, and something that is very helpful in getting it to that, is to just apply a little bit of soap to it. So here I've not put on too much, just a little bit. I'm really just very lightly kind of grazing the brush onto the soap, just putting in a small amount. And then you can use your finger to kind of get that to kind of get flat. So you can see there, everything is in a place, I should say is in its place. And so it's looking really good and really nice. Now the final kind of finishing thing that I now always do, I didn't always do this, but it's really helpful actually. And I've noticed a difference just in how long my brushes last when I do this, is use baby oil. And I just dip my brush in by baby oil. And again, almost always there is a little bit of paint left on your brush, even if you're really kind of scrubbing at it and getting that soap out. And this helps when your brush kind of sits in the baby oil, it helps to get some of those remaining bits of just paint out of your brush. And very often the paint sometimes can be kind of stuck up here and in the edge of, or I should say the end of the brush, kind of at the very tip. And then over time it gets harder and it's not as flexible as what it once was. So doing this practice, dipping in baby oil, really helps to kind of loosen up that paint and get it out. And so then I just let this sit in the baby oil. So I don't actually have it sit in this little container here because it would fall out in my particular case here. And you also don't want your brush sitting kind of straight down like this, because then that's going to make the ends kind of turn this way if it's just sitting on top. So that is not very good. You want it just to be free of any sort of pressure against the bristles. So here I'm just now going to let it sit I'll actually, what I like to do is just use a paper towel or some kind of a rag and just have it sit on it for just until my next painting session. So I let it sit, let's say until tomorrow or whenever I paint next, and then I'm going to clean it again. But I'm just going to use Murphy's oil soap to clean it. And this is very important to do this, because you do not want any baby oil in your painting, because if it gets in your painting will never dry, because baby oil is not a drying oil versus linseed oil is a drying oil. And that's why it's used for painting, because it is a drying oil. So again, I'm just gonna let it sit, and then when I come back to use my brushes for my next painting session, I'm just gonna I'm gonna clean this up, then pour some more Murphy's oil soap into the container and clean it, and then it's gonna be ready to go for the next painting session. Now, it's also worth mentioning that if, let's say, you're in a circumstance and you're running really late to something, and it's kind of an emergency situation, and you realize, oh, I need to clean my brushes, you can technically skip all this and just dip your brush in baby oil, because it's not going to dry, and it's going to stay it's going to keep the paint from drying basically, and not going to ruin your brush. So then later when you are able to get back home and have time, you can wash your brushes. But it's better to do that sooner than later. But I felt it's worth mentioning that, because sometimes it's so much better to do that than to just leave your brushes be and just let them sit on their own, because then that is what ruins brushes. So just dip it in baby oil, and then you'll be good to go until you come back. Now, thank you so much for watching that tutorial just about cleaning brushes. I'm really actually proud to have that and just bring that to you, because it's something I've never really enjoyed doing very much at all. And so it's something I now kind of take much more pleasure in doing, because I know that it's helping my brushes to just have a longer and better life, and just also help my painting in the long run as well. Now, speaking of paintbrushes, I just want to just real briefly just talk about the paintbrush that I used here. And actually, these are the brushes that I primarily only use in my own painting, because I've sort of been phasing out my other brushes and replacing them with rosemary brushes. And for years, I've searched for brushes that I absolutely love, and I never really found them. I always constantly would try different brands all the time, just searching for the perfect brush that I really liked. And I finally, more recently, tried these, and I truly, I mean it when I say that I love them. They're fabulous and they're fantastic. And I'll probably kind of talk more about them later on, but I just want to real quickly talk about that here, because we're talking specifically about paintbrushes, cleaning paintbrushes, and I have a link below for you to check those out and see those for you if you would like to try them out as well. Highly recommend. If you have any tips as well about your brush cleaning methods that you really, really believe in, please leave those below in the comment section. I'd love to see that. I'm sure other people would as well. Also, please like and subscribe. That really helps for just my tutorials and these things to get for other people to be able to enjoy them and see them as well. Thank you so much. Till next time.